Well, hello, everyone. I am Wilson Cole. I'm president of Adams, Evans, and Ross, and, of course, Backdoor Hiring Solutions. And I want to take a minute to visit. I had done a video recently on the Frankenstein contracts where I had given an example of a friend or some Facebook group. You get a copy of their contract, and it looks good. It has all of the safeguards in there, and even has where the company that supplied it was up in New York, and so they wanted a jurisdictional clause. And so it has a jurisdictional clause, and it was perfect for them because it was written by their own attorney. All of a sudden, you get a copy of it, and you say, man, that does look good. I'm just going to change the name and move on. Well, the problem that you run into there with jurisdiction is if you've left in that New York claim, and there's going to be other things in there specifically as well, but for the sake of this information, is you've left in the jurisdictional clause, and you're in California, and your debtor is in Florida, and all of a sudden New York has jurisdiction. You've created a real problem for yourself because New York very well could refuse to pick because that has nothing to do with the state of New York. And I've had clients say, Wilson, explain the jurisdictional issues and the pros and the cons. Now, I'm going to give you collection advice. I'm not going to give you legal advice. Adams, Evans, and Ross, we're a commercial collection agency for the staffing and recruiting industry. For the last 30 years, we've processed about $1 billion worth of debt through here, but we're not a law firm. Even our staff attorneys cannot give you legal advice because you're typically going to be in a different state. But I can give you a collection advice and an overview of a jurisdictional clause. Basically says, hey, if there's a problem with this contract or the dispute, whether it's for, funds or whatever, the jurisdiction, I'm sitting in Metro Atlanta. So we have a jurisdictional in ours that basically says, hey, Cherokee County and the state is where jurisdiction would be. And that does help if you're especially if you're than a recruiter, because you're all going to be in the same area. Now, I could have a lot of our recruiting clients say, well, Wilson, I darn sure want to have a jurisdictional clause. If I'm in my debtors in California, I want to make them come out to Florida. Well, if the debtor doesn't hold assets in the state of Florida and everything's housed internally in California and not using a national bank, it can become difficult to enforce. The other thing is a lot of our clients sign their clients' contracts that have in Delaware or jurisdiction in Nevada or something along those lines. My recommendation to you is be careful on that because if there's not a jurisdictional clause, we typically handle it as if the debtor's in California, that's where the suit is. If our client is in Florida, by theory, now you can always try some statutes, but as a general rule, they would have to come to Florida to sue you. But if all of a sudden the jurisdiction in that example is California, then they could sue you there. So you do need to be careful. And, a lot of clients say, well, Wilson, you say if I'm not in that state, they can't enforce it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying it becomes more difficult to, but they can always domesticate that judgment. And it's kind of a two-step process. But a lot of the defenses that you may be able to make if it were in court versus a jurisdictional claim where they're just trying to get that judgment moved to Florida, you may have weakened your case. Don't ever ignore if you're being sued in another state. But that's kind of the overall view of jurisdictional clause. Just be careful if you sign your client's contract where that jurisdictional clause is. There's arguments for both if you want to put it into your agreement, but just make sure and check with your local attorney. But make sure it's in your state and it's not, there again, like the example Frankenstein contract, jurisdiction is up in New York. And lo and behold, you're not in New York, neither is your debtor, but now all of a sudden your suit would have to be filed there. Can help you with any collections. Don't hesitate to give us a call, 800-452-5287, or visit us on the web at staffingdebt.com. You can click on a free 30-minute consultation with myself or one of our staff attorneys to discuss your specific collection issue. Hey guys, it's Wilson again, and this video was brought to you by Adams, Evans, and Ross. And if you like the video, please make sure that you click on the subscribe button and also like the video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those below as well. If you'd like to learn more about our company, please visit our website at staffingdebt.com. And also remember, if there's no collection, there's absolutely no cost at all.